Ladies and gentlemen, go crazy for Julie Barnes Maurer. Come on, step right up. Step right up. Step right up.
Thank you. Okay, first of all, I just found out or realized tonight that I was going to have to stand still, and that clearly is not in my wheelhouse, so I'm going to do my best. My story starts with a phone call. It was a cold but bright February morning back in 2002. And I had just gotten the boys off to school and put the baby down for her morning nap. Putzing around my house, putting laundry away, and I picked up the phone. It was our family doctor. I was expecting him to call, but I was not expecting this call. He started talking, and he said things like, hey, Julie, I don't have to make this call very often. He said, I'm going to need you to sit down. And I thought, sorry, what? He continued to speak in English, but the words didn't sound so right. I grabbed that phone and I slowly sank down to sit on my bed, and I tried my hardest to make his words make sense. And it sounded like he was talking through a tube. And sometimes words would make sense, and he would say, bone marrow involvement, la 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 la, rare presentation, blah blah blah, treatment as soon as possible. That sun was shining through the window so bright, that February sun that has been in hiding for months but is ricocheting off the snow and comes in your house like laser beams and spotlights. He said one more thing as we were about to hang up the phone. He said, hey, do me a favor. As soon as we hang up, I need you to call some friends and family. You're going to need some support. I just nodded my reply, and I hung up that phone. He was telling me that my baby had cancer. He was saying the 17-month-old sweet princess that was asleep in the next room had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma and acute lymphocytic leukemia of the pre-B cell. It was stage 4 cancer. Let me tell you about this baby girl. She is sassafras. She's my 3rd kid. She's my first planned pregnancy. By this time, I thought we had it all figured out. We'd done it right. The boys were born prematurely, and by prematurely, I mean I had them while I was still in college. Hey, Charlie. So we'd done it right. By the time Katie comes around, we are educated, we are homeowners, we have a dog and a minivan. This baby was also a full-term baby, 8 pounds, 10 ounces, chunk of love. She was breastfed for a year. I homemade all of her organic baby food because we planned on her. Like, we actually knew she was coming. And I made all the right choices. And that doctor had the audacity to call me and tell me she had cancer. I was so mad at him. I remember later telling him that wasn't fair and explaining all this stuff to him about how I had done it right, and he said, thank God. And I said, what? I wanted to be mad. I wanted to just be mad at him, and he said, thank God you did all that. And he gave me this little nugget, this little gift. A little smack upside the head is really what it was. And he said, thank God you did all that. I'm going to change your perspective because she's the healthiest little cancer patient we've ever seen. I must have listened to the doctor's request to call support, because the next thing I knew after I hung up that phone was my living room full of women, full of this fierce powerful vortex of love and faith and hope. There was tears, and there were hugging, and there was prayers, and then that emotion turned into action, and these ladies jumped into full force. They were coordinating casseroles and carpools, and they gave us this gift of blocking out some of that chaos and uncertainty. Here's the thing, uncertainty, it's funny, right? What do they say? Nothing's certain but death and taxes. But if anybody had been prepared, born and raised for chaos and uncertainty, I certainly felt at my age I had, which was the ripe old age of 27. I was born in 1974, right around the corner here. Whoop, whoop. You're the tiger. Rawr. Oh, that's cool too. I was at Detroit Metropolitan Hospital. It's now the Job Corps building. It was the 70s. My parents were very young hippies. My dad at the time, and please don't judge him at this part of the story for who he is now, but at the time he was known as the Angel Dust King. Come on, it was for his entrepreneurial spirit, I'm sure. And my mother was the motorcycle mama from 9 and Van Dyke. These two were born and raised in chaos and uncertainty, and they took that torch and they passed it on hard to the next generation. I would have 17 addresses by the time I was 18 years old. I would have 6 moms and 4 dads, and I cannot tell you how many siblings, step, half, quarter, kickball, change. I have no idea. Life was always crazy, and crazy was normal. And at 19, I would follow in the family footsteps and start making my own babies and flying by the seat of my pants. It was about that time that we started to get some focus and direction. But I thought all that craziness would prepare me, but it did not. That phone call, nothing can prepare you for facing the mortality of one of your children. Katie had a 2-year protocol, 2 years of chemotherapy. High doses, low doses, finger pokes, blood draws, lumbar punctures, bone marrow biopsies, unexpected extended hospital stays when her brothers would bring home cooties from school. And they did. I've got an entire story about chicken pox that we'll save for another day. About halfway through her treatment, we're sitting at the Rose Cancer Center in Royal Oak, Beaumont. And another mom is there. She has twin daughters who are being treated for leukemia. And she's got this purple pamphlet in her hand, and she's telling me how she's going to run a marathon. Team in Training is going to teach her and coach her and give her a team, and in return, she's going to raise money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. And in that moment, the world made sense. I don't know why, because I'd never been a runner. But I had been an athlete. Once upon a time, I'd been given the gift of sport, which had taken that crazy childhood and quieted some of the chaos. I had a stepdad in 1984 after Mary Lou Retton won the Olympics that was like, oh, we need to put Julie in a padded room and let her bounce around for a while. I was a bouncy kid. Whether this is nature or nurture, I don't know, but I'm wired for sound. I walked into that gym, and I was not in trouble anymore for not sitting in my seat, and I was not in trouble for climbing to the rafters. I was not only not in trouble, but I was applauded and rewarded and encouraged, and the world made sense. I had that bubble to block out the chaos. So when I'm sitting next to Wendy and she's talking about a marathon, I think, oh my gosh, an athletic adventure. Not only that, but a way to pay it forward. I mean, after all, I was never going to be able to make enough casseroles to pay back what people had done for my family or drive and carpool all the kids around, the folks that had taken care of my boys to their events. But this I could do. I could put one foot in front of the other for 26.2 miles, and I could raise money and awareness for a cause that was dear to me. And I could say thank you, and I could give back. So as Katie's chemo is coming to an end, I start running miles. And my kids are a part of the adventure. They come to fundraisers, we raise money, they come to races, and they pass out water, and it's quite a family affair. And I run my first marathon. It's at Disney World. Oh yes, lights, music, Mickey Mouse, fireworks. And I run. There's a 7-hour time limit for this race. And I take 6 hours and 59 minutes. And I cross that finish line and I think, oh my God, this is so awful. Who the fuck thinks it's a good idea to run 26 miles in one day? Honest to God, that was the dumbest thing I'd ever done. So I turned around and I signed up for another one. That's right, I came home and I did Bayshore and Free Press, and then, well, I'm gonna try a triathlon. And within a couple of years, I've done several events, and my kids have been an amazing part, again, of fundraising and cheering on other athletes, and just being a cool part of this community of giving back. That phone call, man, I never would have expected it would have changed. Don't touch the microphone. I would have never thought it would have directed my life this way. Along the way in all my training, which it kept going, it went from that little try to a bigger try to an Ironman, and I cartwheeled across the finish line with my kids there, 140.6 miles. Thank you. Better than that year, Katie Jane and I and my boys raised $15,000 for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. That was a gift. And along that way, to get training miles in, I would start running with a club called Downtown Runners and Walkers. Woo woo! Downtown Runners and Walkers has been running on Tuesday nights out of different bars downtown Detroit since 1983. Oh yeah, they're a drinking club with a running problem. Oh yeah, no. They will keep you accountable to get your miles in and your beer. And they will be a force and a vortex and a bubble of love and hope and support, and everybody there has a story. From Downtown Runners, I would become involved with more local community volunteering. We would get involved with the Turkey Trot, Corktown races, Free Press Marathon. Oh my God, I got to be a part of health and fitness in this awesome city in Detroit. And then from there, I would be asked to be a race director and raise money for the Orion Arts Center, or be a director for a duathlon for my Rotary Club and raise money for beds for kids. You know what's so cool? As I kept trying to give back and say thank you, and every time I did it, I just came back to me and filled me up. You know, life hasn't just stayed great and awesome this whole time. There's been job losses and divorces. But I can tell you what, every time I go volunteer at the Turkey Trot and I'm cheering on a man in a turkey costume, really difficult to feel sorry for myself. Or if I get to go deliver a mattress to a family whose children haven't had a bed. I mean, I really can't feel sorry for myself. It turns out every time you serve your community serves you right back. I have a buddy, Chris, that I do a lot of volunteering with, and one day he showed up in his TEDx Detroit shirt. And I was like, I want to go to there. And he said, you should volunteer. And I said, okay, because that's what I do now. And I get to go to my first TEDx, and I do my smiles and waves, and I get everyone to their seats, and then I get to sit in the audience and take in other people's stories. This lady takes the stage, and she tells me a story. I'm sure she's talking right to me. And she says, storytelling is a gift, and it heals people. Maybe you've heard this before. She said, listening is a revolutionary act. She gives me permission in that moment. I mean, she literally cracks, not literally, because my head's not cracked open, but she cracks my head and my heart open, and it's like she pours in the freshest, coldest, biggest bottle of Verner's, because everything sparkles. My eyes water, my nose tickles, and the world makes sense. And she gives me this gift and this permission to be able to share this story. And it's Satori. And she gives me this gift to be here right now with you. Again, that phone call I never would have expected to lead to this. There's a Latin term, it's felix culpa. Felix meaning happy, and culpa meaning fall or fault. Some people say it means like happy accident, but I've also heard it mean when good luck comes from bad luck. And sometimes, and I know that I'm not the only one that's had that phone call just by you being here, I expect you've had the phone call. I feel blessed and gifted for being here. And my kids, some of my greatest gifts, just so you know, Charlie, my oldest, graduated from Michigan State, and he now uses his gifts in film and technology to set up events like this and let other people get their information out. Jacob graduated from Albion College, and he now coaches gymnastics. He teaches these young boys to be amazing men, teammates, and athletes. And Katie Jane is the warrior princess. Not just because, yes. Thanks. Not just because she's about to celebrate her 16th year of remission, but because she is a sophomore at Wayne State studying music education, sharing her voice and her love of music with the kids in our community. All those things make me truly gifted.
Julie Barnes Maurer.